This episode brought to you by leftovers. There's no meal like yesterday's, so why not receive the gift that keeps on giving and eat some of your leftovers? Or maybe even some of your friends. If you open up your fridge and there aren't tons of Tupperware containers in there, well, head on over to someone's fridge who does and enjoy leftovers as they ought to be enjoyed by you and your stomach. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy some leftovers right now today by using the promo code HannahTheHuman. Again, that's HannahTheHuman to get leftovers for you today. Don't waste another second. There is no time like the present, except for yesterday when you prepared that meal which you are now eating. Yeah, let's go. Eat those leftovers. Again, Hannah the Human to get leftovers today. Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for like existential vibes. Hannah. Hannah the Human. Hello, people of the world. I'm literally recording this the day, or really a half day, before I'm releasing it. It's Monday currently as I'm talking, and this will be, I'm sitting down as well next to the open screen door of my apartment. Oh, it's a beautiful day. It's summery, it's warm, it's a little humid. It is a bit smoky. I Googled, there's some fires up in Canada that are blowing smoke down here. So, thanks, Canada. But now the smoke's cleared quite a bit, so now it's a beautiful sunny day. And it's Monday, and I'll release this. I always schedule it to be released at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. But life has been busy, so that's why I'm getting to recording my podcast now. It was Mother's Day yesterday, so that meant I worked 12 hours straight serving people their Mother's Day meals and eating all the desserts and snacks and treats that we all brought, because at Red Lobster where I work, when it's a busy day, like a holiday, aka Mother's Day, then the kitchen is busy all day making food. So, people can't order food for lunch or whatever. So we all pitch in and do a little potluck, and it's fun because everybody gets to snack on all the delicious food all day. I brought, get ready, fruit salad. Because I also didn't participate in the main part of the meal. It was hot dogs, and I do like hot dogs, but I don't eat pork. And I was like, I'm just going to bring my own sandwich. So that's what I ate for lunch, but I snacked on all the lovely desserts and stuff people brought. So, and that's why I brought fruit salad as well. And most of the fruit salad was eaten. I ate the rest of it today at lunch. So that was good. It's always good when you don't bring home a full container from a potluck. That's not a good feeling. Well, besides for potlucks and work and stuff like that and the weather, I really have been thinking a lot about the concept of hope. Kind of going in tandem with what I talked about last week, of just processing how do you love when things are difficult? Are you still loving even when you create distance? By the way, if for some reason you didn't listen to last week's episode, I personally think it was pretty good. So you should listen to it. But I think I titled it "Okay When She's Not Okay" or something like that. But in thinking about hope, I thought it might probably will be a great idea to just talk about wonderful instances and stories and points of hope in my life, because it's kind of like that Bible verse that I'm sure most of you have heard, whatever is good, think on those things. Whatever is noble and, benefits you, think on that. Whatever is righteous, whatever is uplifting, have that run through your mind. That's my paraphrase of the Bible verse. And I found like an instance, I was just scrolling on Instagram, and they suggest something, and then, oh, that's a funny clip, and I clicked on it and was scrolling through that person, this comedian's saw their bio and was looking at different reels they were posting and stumbled across a post where they were sharing about how their mom was 3 years sober at age 70 something. And they were just sharing like, hey, it's never too late. And I felt so much hope from that. And then I was also, thanks Instagram, there can be a lot of the opposite of uplifting stuff on social media, but also there's a ton of uplifting stuff. Like I stumbled across this reel, or I don't think it was a reel. Anyway, it was just a video of this lady who started a farm called By Faith Farms in America somewhere. I think Tennessee, but I don't know. Because she had a dream that she was gonna buy a farm and give the food to people who were hungry. And so then she and her husband bought this farm, and she had a cool story about how, he got on board with that and how they got the farm that they did. And now they are giving it to food banks, and people are coming and volunteering. And it's this whole community experience of not only a community experience of giving to people, but a community experience of people working together to grow food and share it with those who need it. And that gave me hope. And so it got me thinking, wow, what stories do I have in my own life of hope? And I got to be honest, it also makes me jealous. Like, God, why haven't I woken up in the middle of the night from a dream that's told me to do something? And then, there's that desire in me. I don't know if you have it, but I've always had it. I want to be important. I want to be part of some miraculous thing. I want it, my life to be magical. But that's honestly kind of why I've started things like this podcast. And I also post little videos because I bought a camcorder, an old one, like from early 2000s. So ancient, right, guys? So it's not actually like antique. It's just old enough to be cheap. And I wanted it to look like how the videos looked when I videoed as a kid. So I bought a camcorder from around the early 2000s, which was when I was a young kid. And if you want to see those videos that I post, it's on my YouTube channel called Hannah the Human. I think that's what I call it. Yeah. But I'm not a big YouTube channel. So if you Google it, you probably won't pop up right away, but you could Google someone that I call Home Hannah the Human, and then my music video for that song will pop up, and then via that you can then see my channel, and I have not just music videos and things like that, but I also have videos of my life, because I was thinking a while back when I started videoing with my camcorder, maybe my life is magical and I just don't notice it. So in that spirit, I'm going to share some stories that give hope from my own life. One that first comes to mind is when I first came to Sioux City about 2 years ago, a little under 2 years ago. I needed a place to live. And my friends let me live at their house, and then they let me live in their camper next to their house. And I was like, okay, well, now I need a job. And I knew I wanted to be a server, a waitress. I'd never served before. I mean, I'd worked at Chipotle, so I guess I worked in the food industry. But I just knew I'm going to be a waitress. And so then I thought, okay, well, let's see what's applying, or where I can apply to what's applying. Let's see who's looking for people to work at their restaurant as a waitress. And there were a few different places I applied at, and even some people who got back to me, but they told me in the interviews and stuff that I would need to be a host first, since I don't have any previous waitressing, serving experience. And then after a little while, then I could work up from being a host to being a server. And I thought to myself, no, my dream job is not to be a host. I want to be a server. And then I went to Red Lobster for an interview because I saw on Indeed.com, that they were looking for people. So I applied on there and then got an interview and was hired on the spot. And I said, are you concerned at all? Are you going to make me a host? And they were like, nope, you can go right into serving. that was awesome. And then I got a job, and then I was driving, like 35 minutes each way to work. And I wanted to get out of the hair of my friends and literally get my hair out of their drain by no longer using their shower and stuff, So then I needed to find a place to live in Sioux City, where I got a job. And I also needed enough money. My car had died, my van that I was driving, which that was a sad experience. You could actually watch one of my YouTube videos. It's called Concert in Wisconsin, ? And it's actually real life footage of me when my car breaks down in the middle of Iowa on my way to a concert in Wisconsin, which I did not go to. Spoiler alert. So basically what I'm saying is I had just bought a new old beater car because my last car died unexpectedly, even though it had like close to 300,000 miles. So I guess it wasn't totally unexpectedly, but it was a Toyota. I just expect those things to run forever. And then it didn't run anymore. So it was basically totaled. The people were like, oh, this is like engine failure when I took it into the mechanic, which that's another hope-filled story. I ended up, I was stranded in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, is how it felt to me, a few hours from everybody I knew, and with the car that I needed to get towed somewhere. And it ended up, I used somebody else's AAA and got it towed back to my friend's house, and then I got it towed. Where did it go? I sold it for like parts or something for a few $100 and got it towed out there. So that worked out great. But anyway, so I have this job at Red Lobster. I need to get a place to live, and I don't want it to be a super junkie's place, but I also have a limited amount that I want to spend. And I look at a couple places in my price range, and they are not where I want to be. I mean, I remember this one place, I came to see it, and first off, it smelled like smoke and stuff. And then I go in there, and it's like a fresh coat of paint. Yeah, they painted over all of the nastiness, and it was like peeling, and the building was so old. It looked like the windows would fall off. And he was like, yeah, here you go. And it's like these old pipes in this nasty, dirty old bathtub. It was just so icky. And it was in a part of town where there's, the parts of town where people just loiter outside and smoke because they don't have jobs or whatever, or their jobs aren't quite legal. Yeah, it was kind of that part of town. And anyway, so I knew I didn't want to live there. I was like, oh, well, thanks for showing. Yeah, I'll get back to you if I want to move in. But I don't. So then I was kind of getting a little hopeless. Like, am I going to find anything in the price range that I want? And I couldn't really go higher than that because literally I had spent like my $1,000 or so saved up on my beater car. Actually, I spent $1,400 to be exact. Was that how much I spent? Anyway, I forget. I guess it wasn't exact, but basically I didn't have a savings anymore. So like I didn't have enough money for a down payment. So I asked my dad, hey, would you be willing to transfer me some money that then I'll pay you back, just so I can also appear to be richer than I am? So when people say, how much do you have in your bank account? And they do their little background research, then they see, wow, she actually has a couple thousand in there. So my dad complied because he's a great dad and because I promised to pay him back. But also, even if I never paid him back, I'm sure he still would have done it. But there I am looking for apartments, and this opportunity I see on Facebook Marketplace, this person says, hey, open showing this day of the week, and I'm not working that day, so I say I will be there. And I show up, and I see the place, and it's clean. It doesn't gross me out. It's exactly in my price range. It's literally less than 10 minutes from where I work. I mean, it is just a bunch of things I want. I tell the lady, wow, I really want this apartment. She didn't seem as enthusiastic about me getting it as I did. And so I called my dad after I saw the open house, and she was like, well, there's a few other people, who came and whatever, and I'm just going to review some things and, run background checks or whatever she was doing. I said, well, okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Or for some reason, there was like some reason she was like, okay, well, come back at the end of, that's what she said. Come back at the end of the open house time and we'll see if other people have, I'll let you know if other people have seen it and if I'm going to move forward with other options. And I said, okay. And then I'm driving around just waiting, and I call my dad and I tell him, I really want this place. And I remember we prayed and we said, God, I would really like this. Can you make it happen? And it felt really impossible because literally I added up how much, like she wanted basically 3 times the rent up front right away. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's almost down to the penny how much I have in my checking account. This doesn't look that great. And I literally just started a new job, so I definitely am not the stablest person. I show up at the end of the open house time, walk up to the lady, and she says, I just have a really good feeling about you. So, if you want it, you can have it. And I was like, what? Yes. And so we signed the paperwork right then and there, and I move in, like I think the next week. And in reading back my journal entries from that time, I saw that I had journaled and said, I would really like to have a place before October 1st. Thinking that feels so impossible because I literally just got a job at the very end of July and I don't have any money and da-da-da-da-da. And then literally September, the beginning of September is when I got my apartment. So before August 1st, my wishes and prayers were granted. That's a nice, hopeful story. Oh, also, another time that I was just so blessed off my side of my socks, was when I was living in Vacaville, California, and I was working at Chipotle. It was spring of 2020. So COVID and all that craziness and quarantines had just hit. It was just wild times. I had been working at Chipotle for almost 2 years. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's so much more depth to this story. Oh, this is a good story too. So, yeah, I'd been working at Chipotle for about 2 years, and I wasn't looking for another job or anything, but I had felt like I needed to start giving away a third of my income, I think it was. Because ever since I've been little, I've always tithed, which is give away 10% of my income. But I felt there was this like giving campaign at the church I was going part of, and I was asking God, do I give to that? And I just felt like I was supposed to give a third of my income, like a third of my next paycheck towards that. And I was like, okay. And then I felt like I need to keep doing this for some reason. And I remember I told God, I don't make enough to live off of 2/3 of my current income. I kind of need almost all of it to pay all my bills. But I started giving. And shocker, I survived the next month quite easily. Like, not even survive, but I was able to pay all my bills. And it was live quite comfortably. And then the next month. And then, right out of nowhere, my friend Mimi, who was on this podcast quite a few episodes ago, well, her dad, how was it? Her mom texted me saying, hey, my husband was wondering, there's an opening at the pharmaceutical company he works for. There's an opening to work there, and it'd be full-time remote. And it just sounded like so grown-up-y and like way above my level of ability. This job. I mean, to work for a pharmaceutical company organizing documents online. I was like, have you seen my room right now? I'm not known for my attention to detail and organization. But then I said, well, what kind of job is it? And I said, well, how much would it pay? And then I said, oh, I'm definitely interested. Yeah, I really feel like all of a sudden I have a true calling and gifting for organizing documents online. So then they scheduled an interview with me and my friend's dad, his name is Kent, and the other like manager person, Hillary. I remember the interview was scheduled for a little bit after my shift at Chipotle ended on whatever day that was. And so I got back home. I was, of course, running a little later than I thought I would be. And the call started soon, and it was some link on my phone. And I just remember sitting there wearing my Chipotle shirt. I had taken off my pants because they were all dirty and nasty. And I was sitting in my underwear and Chipotle shirt at the corner of my bed, leaning against my nightstand, clicking this link. And they were like, I don't see your face. I thought we sent a video link. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry, I joined it from the phone call option, thinking also, yeah, I'm not ready right now for a video call. So we did it over this phone link thing. Like, you can do it through your phone number or through the online whatever. And I did it through my phone number, so it was just an audio call. And I just remember sitting there telling him, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to do this job, but I'm just not that much, like, you can ask all my friends and family. I'm not one to notice the details, so I don't know if I would do that good at this job. But they knew what they knew what they needed out of whoever they hired, and they were right. I honestly did the job amazing because it wasn't as much about being super detail oriented as learning a system and following the system. And I got the job, and I suddenly was making good money, working remotely during COVID and 2020 and all the craziness. So I had job security, and I could, as they're changing the regulations and rules all the time, didn't affect me. I worked from home happily, and it was a great team to work for. I gained so much skill, and I even gained a new way of looking at myself. Like, I was just the kid on the block, But then I started realizing, you know what? I am an adult. I can do this. I am bringing something to the team. Mostly my funny little animations that I would make using PowerPoint. Oh my gosh, that was my favorite. Whenever I had to do a presentation, I one time sang a parody of a song, Let It Go from Frozen. When a coworker was leaving and we had a meeting, I made a song, Let Him Go, Let Him Go. Oh, I forget the lyrics. But anyway, that was super fun. And then I was supposed to make a presentation about the EMF, or it's something about EMF stands for something, but that has to deal with the way that you go do a trial, like if you have a drug and you want to see if it's going to work or not, then you have to do this whole process. And it's not called EMF. I'm using all the abbreviations. It's been a while since I've worked for a pharmaceutical company, folks. But basically the point was, as all these other people, like, we had these weekly meetings, and then we kind of went through this phase where, each week we're going to have a different person present on a different topic that has to deal with the job that we do. And I chose to present on how to run a clinical trial. And the way that I did that was I did a parody of Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. My version was called Here Comes the Drug, do-do-do-do. And, it definitely wasn't as intellectual as other people who presented, but I really think it left an impression with everybody, and that's the beauty of music. So I just had a fun time getting to be me in a more professional environment and realize I do bring something to the table, and it was such an awesome team because, of course, you did have to be more professional and stuff, and I had to wear nice shirts when there were video calls, But yeah, it was just a great team because they let me be me and they appreciated me for me. And I did my job really well. I was pretty fast at organizing documents, and I did it very well. I didn't make mistakes. So that was fun. And it was really fun getting to work with all the Excel spreadsheets with the fun colors and markdown stuff. So that was a good time in my life. And I had more than enough money. And the best part was, once my income increased, the amount I gave away increased. So suddenly I was giving so much money. And then I felt like, you know what? I knew, okay, 10% of the 33% that I give away, or basically like, my tithe, the 10% of my income, I want to just like give that to, organizations like the church or orphanages or whatever. And then I was like, the other 20%, I'm going to use that to bless people in my life. And I helped a person finish paying off their school loans and stuff like that. It was just like a few hundred, they were like, they had mentioned, wow, I'm only like, X amount 100 away. And then I just gave her that amount. And it was so fun to get to participate in helping her get debt free. And then I had my 21st birthday. And for my birthday, I said, I invited like these, I think it was 9 different ladies were all there at my favorite farm to table restaurant, Backdoor Bistro in Vacaville, California. Go there. It's great. They source a lot of their food from local farms and things like that. And it's amazing and healthy for you. And they also have great wine and mixed drinks. So I said, what a perfect place to spend my 21st birthday. And it was so great because I said, for my birthday, I'm paying, like we're getting whatever, we're partying. And it was super fun because some of the people like gave me, $20 or something to help pay for their meal. And I was like, oh, thanks, but was not needing it because I had my giving money. So I was going to give a fun birthday experience to myself and others. And it was really cool, just all the stuff that I got to do because I had so much more money to give. And now I don't give away a third of my income because that was also another process. I felt like I was giving and I didn't really have much of a savings. So then I felt this kind of pull of like, how do I be like a little bit more responsible with my money? Or I don't know. I felt like it just shifted where the season to give that much was over. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm in a season where I want to save. I still, though, hold on to the generosity that I learned in that time when I was giving away a large part of my money. I learned the joy of like giving above and beyond the 10% that I'm always committed to give. So yeah, that's fun. I heard someone describe it one time as like, yeah, there's your tithes and there's your offerings. And tithes are just like that practice that you put in place of your generosity. Like, I don't even think, like, it's not even difficult for me. Oh, do I give away or do I keep? Like, I get money, I give 10% of it away. And it's just this practice where I don't think about it. But then it's fun to kind of give above and beyond because when I notice sometimes I can feel a little hesitant, I can feel a little stingy. And that's when I know, nope, I'm going to give above and beyond what I usually give. So that was super fun time. And yeah, there's some more stories of hope from my life. This is great. I actually have a cool life. Yeah, some pretty cool things and pretty cool circumstances that worked out. I honestly feel so much more hopeful than when I started recording this podcast. So that's another thing that crossed through my mind. I thought, okay, what deep and profound thing should I talk about this week to share? And then I remembered, oh, dang, Hannah, oh, snap. Remember, we do this podcast for you. I mean, I do it for you guys too, of course, obviously, like, or whoever listens, I'm posting it for a reason, but deep down inside, I do it because I enjoy making a podcast. And all that I'm in charge of is my personal growth and my response to life. And perhaps me doing what is good for me, like having a podcast and telling stories about my life that inspire hope, can benefit you as well and be part of your growth and your journey. So I kind of want to also just briefly talk about, because it was passing through my mind as I was telling these stories, that there are some stories of hope that I do want to be able to share someday. But I'm in the middle of them. Or maybe they haven't even started. Someday I would love to be able to share the story of how I had the resources, the money, the time, the people to make a high quality movie. There's this one book that I have loved ever since I read it as a kid, like a young teenager. It's called To Have and to Hold by Mary something, I think. Anyway, it's not a really big famous book or anything, and it was written a little while ago, like in the last century, it's not a modern book. But I loved it. I loved the story. And when I was reading it, I just knew I need to make this into a movie someday. And yeah, that's a story that I would love to be able to tell someday, of how I was able to turn that book into a high quality movie that not only me and my family enjoyed watching, but other people as well. Also, someday I would love to be able to tell the story of how I married the love of my life. That's going to be a good story. I just know. I can't wait until I get to tell that story of how everything orchestrated itself and was designed and blessed and worked out so that I not just met a person, but that we were really good for each other. And yeah, how I get married someday. Another story I would love to tell is in this next season of my life, how following my intuition and trusting that the best is yet to come, that when I move in the next season of my life in probably Grand Rapids, Michigan, will be beautiful and wonderful, and the story of hope that I hope to be able to share in a year or two is, wow, what a wonderful decision I made to move up north to the land of Lake Michigan. I hope that I'll be able to share more stories of provision, financial provision, relational provision. And honestly, I hope all of that for you guys too, that a year from now, the stories that you'll be able to tell are how you feel so much more fulfilled by the community around you than you did before, how your contentment with life is even at a higher level than it was last year. I hope that in a year from now we can all say, wow, I didn't know that it was possible to love my job so much, but I'm just loving it more. I didn't know it was possible to have so much enjoyment around who I spend my time with. For whatever is true, whatever is lovely, focus on these things. That reminds me of a poem I wrote about how I'm a dreamer, and I think I'm going to read it. Because, to hope is also to dream. It's exhausting, honestly, being a dreamer. And it's burnt me in life. I felt hurt by having expectations. And I'm still trying to figure that out. How do I have how do I not have specific expectations and have such a sense of being let down? But also, how do I not just live a dull, nonchalant life where I'm like, I don't care, I'm not going to get my hopes up. How do I actually genuinely want things? And I think that's why I've been thinking a lot about hope. Like, instead of attaching all of my life's fulfillment on certain things happening, making a certain amount of money today at work, or getting to hang out with a certain friend this afternoon, or whatever it may be in your case as well, or, instead of that being the fulfillment, instead, maybe I can continue this practice of keeping my mind alive to hope. Maybe a dreamer can not be so painful after all. Or dreaming cannot be so painful after all. Let me grab my phone and read the poem for you. This is titled, I'm a Dreamer. I love waking up to a new idea. I love changing my plans every few weeks. I love how I'm constantly coming up with romantic storylines for who my next crush will be. But there's a part of me that knows I will curse my dreams if I can't look back at my life and say, I'm living the dream. Staying disciplined, working hard, settling down. Maybe more like still seeing the magic. Maybe less like sticking to it and more like continuing to chase. More like hopscotch and less like being taped to a wooden beam. No fun in that. I will not go down with the ship. I will get good at jumping overboard, and I will not let fear stop me from getting on the next boat. Who knows? Maybe this one will make it to shore. And once I'm there, perhaps I'll buy a plane and get good at parachuting until I make it into the airport. And then I'll trade my plane for a rocket ship. It's not bad to dream. It's my medicine. It's my discipline. I'm constantly dreaming. It is good to be me. The things I think and make will probably not change the world, but they will change me. I will get good at jumping ship. I will get good at changing my life. I'll diligently delight in being a dreamer. Ah, that was good to read. Maybe I'll give you all a song next week. Who knows? I feel like I've been doing lots of poems and stuff lately, but I just have so many poems, so I love the opportunity to share them with you all. And I hope you love them too. And I hope you love your life, because it's the only one you got. Oh, let's go. The cynic rises again. Ah, what a good one. Well, I got to edit this podcast now. And you know what else I have to say? You guessed it. Peace out.